the beginning. I am a CIO of Syngenta Agro SRL, and I am running the digital solution in IAME, the digital agronomy from Syngenta IT side. We're building a bridge in between business and IT for delivering and implementing our digital solutions. Today, I will try to cover these topics. So please let me know if you see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel the need to put it full screen, or it's enough?
For me, it's okay like this. Yes, it's visible, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So basically, because I would like to spend as much possible to have your feedback and to discuss openly about it, I will go through only several points. Of course, introducing artificial intelligence in Agile, AI Agile for coaches, AI for Scrum Masters, covering a little bit the HR topic in Agile, and as well HR analytics, and concluding with some thoughts, and of course going in a kind of free interaction with you. So pretty simple. In artificial intelligence, I have a couple of thoughts and theories here. I will use that as a backup, let's say, slide, but actually I will try to speak as free as possible. So if you ask me, it's a little bit too much to say intelligence and artificial for sure. Actually, it's something which is based on a lot of data, and it's kind of technology which can help us and assist us in doing a lot of stuff. Artificial intelligence is probably present since a while, but the ChatGPT probably brought everything under the spot, because it's the first time when this kind of, how to say, interaction, especially in multiple languages, very close to reality or simulating reality, didn't happen before. So machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth was something for the scientific community. It was something for the people which were very knowledgeable about that. But with ChatGPT, we have access to this kind of technology in a very easy way. And the applications and the development and the coverage of such a technology is incredible, covering a lot of topics. And of course, it came always with debates, if it's positive or if it's negative. Of course, it came with a lot of comments like losing jobs or changing life or doing nothing or hallucinating and so on and so forth. But basically, if you ask me, and I tested personally and I saw the benefits, I think it's here to stay. It's at the beginning, it's at early stages, but even so, it's impressive. And I think it's something you should approach in two ways: either run away and be beaten or defeated by those who embrace it later on and make the difference using it, or try it, test it, and see it's what all about, and eventually use it as a support tool for the daily activities. And of course, the applications are in multiple domains, but now we'll try to focus on this Agile part. So again, my takeaway from the way I've seen is that AI power solution can augment and enhance the roles of coaches, Scrum Master, HR, and Agile process. Actually, what I noticed is usually I think the biggest winners of such a technology are really good professional people, high-level professional people, not because they know how to use this technology, but they have the knowledge to really, incorporate what this technology can provide and enhance their own portfolio of knowledge and let's say skills. Therefore, the way it is, I will go directly to the slide, which goes in this kind of Agile coaches. So first of all, ChatGPT as a practical, let's say, application of artificial intelligence is a tool which can be used in projects, improving the projects a lot. And there are multiple ways how this can be done. So usually in a project, you have a lot of communication. You let a lot of communication between different members of this team. And of course, I don't know if you are familiar, probably I missed that part. If you are familiar with ChatGPT, ChatGPT actually is a chatbot. It's an interactive screen where you put queries, questions, and you get answers. By the way, a new job pops up in the last weeks, months, prompt engineer. Why? Why? Because if you use first time this kind of interactive query-based technology, if you put, sorry to say, stupid questions, it's not that you get stupid answers, but the quality of the answers depends on how you influence, we can use this word, influence the way the chatbot is actually answering it. And there are a lot of techniques where you can really improve a lot the outcome of your queries or your questions. And the free version actually is only this interface. You ask questions and you get answers. Depending on domain, doesn't matter. But of course, there is a paid version and there is an API version which can be integrated through coding efforts like Python and so on and so forth, and you can integrate in your business processes. And of course, all the communication in between members of a team can be loaded as data in this kind of technology. They can be analyzed. And of course, the AI can give you some advices on the bottlenecks. It can facilitate collaboration. It can give you alerts. It can analyze the sentiment, telling you exactly from the chats, not only from the interaction with the bot, because some companies already put this chatbot at the disposal of their people to enhance their activity. Some companies are afraid about that. But also you can track the discussions, the email, the chat of all the team members. And of course, through different pattern and different kind of instruction sets, this technology can give you some advices and give you some risk or alerts and so on and so forth. And of course, there are a lot of areas of improvement in a project. And this can be done usually by the Scrum Masters and so on and so forth. But of course, this technology can provide that stuff automatically. Most practical thing for that, you can create an agile coach, a virtual agile coach. Of course, that's not so difficult. Actually, you need the access to the API, to the interface OpenAI provides. You need to write some codes and you need to open some database. And except one Python engineer and probably one or two business people to really drive that as a project, at least at the beginning, until you train the algorithm with your data. You don't need too much to do on top of that. I'm sure a lot of companies will jump in that and provide that as an enterprise solution, but this can be done by everyone. It's not a moment now to discuss about licensing, pricing, but believe me, it's quite affordable. If you go to Scrum Master, of course, Scrum Master applies more to software because we discussed about agile coaches. It's more or less the same. But here you have some tools which are specific in terms of communication to software development. You have the backlog, the place where you put a lot of enhancements, comments from the test users, from the developers, where you track the progress of a feature in a product and so on and so forth. You have the methodology of an agile software development, the daily or the weekly standards. When people, because if you are familiar with the agile development, you don't do state-of-the-art product. You actually you go for a minimum viable product. You have iterations or sprints and so on and so forth, and you have daily standouts where you capture the feedback from the customers and from the developers, and you progress and you add piece by piece. And in the end, it's that product which we call it agile because it's built on this technology. And you see that nowadays, even in your, I don't know, mobile app from your phone. Android, Apple, doesn't matter. You see that, I don't know, Gmail app, it's updated on a daily, weekly basis. That means they never have a let's say, ended product. It's always evolving. They always add enhancements and so on and so forth. But actually capturing all the data from all these tools, the resume of these stand-ups, backlog, and so on and so forth, this technology can give you important guidance, important advices, and drive your effectiveness in your team in such a way that you can save some time. Of course, could be biased. Of course, the people who build this algorithm, they have their own ethics and their own thinking. But if you use this tool and you have the ability to make your judgment, you can still see the benefit and the support it gives you to really make faster decisions. It will not replace people. It will not replace Scrum Masters, but eventually it will really make a lot of the repetitive task of such roles very redundant. I think in 1 or 2 years, the good thing is these kind of agile coaches or Scrum Masters will focus on more creative part, will focus on how to really have a bigger impact in their project, and the whole bureaucratic process-based part of the agile projects will eventually end up becoming automatic. To really give some samples, because it sounds very theoretical, and again, it's a thin edge I'm walking on, because if I get into details how to do it technically, we lose probably all the audience. And if you go to practical, it's a little bit tricky, because it's very specific to a certain project or a certain company. So here I explore 3 scenarios where this part, scenario 1, is what was inputted in the ChatGPT, just like a query, a simple prompt. You are a project manager in an account that has 2 Scrum teams that work on the same product. Maybe you can read for yourself, but actually it's like the questions. We have some challenge in terms of time with only a couple of points, and we would like to do everything by Christmas. And we have an executive meeting tomorrow. How we prepare for this meeting? And the answer from ChatGPT here, as a project, which can be, by the way, refined, and we can get into more details and we can get even more refined, is actually a very good, series of advices from an agile methodology point of view. It gives you very simple the steps you should prepare in order to be ready for that executive meetings. And of course, if you have any of the comments to really raise on each point, it can get into more details. I think we don't need to spend time now on each point, but we could probably share the PowerPoint after the call, but you may see for yourself now or later on that everything written here, it's very common sense. It doesn't change your life, but maybe we are here in Agile community, but maybe it's a company which doesn't have such kind of roles inside. You don't need to ask for an analyst or for a consultant. You could even calibrate your own thinking. Maybe you know all these steps, but all of a sudden, in a matter of seconds, you get some answers and some guidance how you could prepare such a meeting. Never take it for granted. It's always something you should check. But if you are a skilled professional, it really can speed up the way you make decisions. Then the second example is like one of our Scrum Masters. It doesn't have a structured daily stand-up, and he behaves more or less formally, and he doesn't really seems to be very engaged. He, on the other hand, is a senior and an expert, and we have a problem. And what we can do? And the series of how to say scenarios to handle or to mitigate this situation, ChatGPT response cover is really interesting. And eventually the advice to go and sit down with Mark, with the Scrum Master, and explain why it's important. And it makes sense not only from an Agile project, but also from an HR, let's say, perspective, and so on and so forth. So again, the answers, you could tell it for yourself. But again, I think it's really interesting. I don't know, not everyone is an expert in that discipline. Not everyone experienced that before. Maybe you always you had the chance to run Agile projects and you never had this kind of conflict. I think it's useful to have such a feedback. And then the last one, you get another project on top of your shoulders, and there are people we have double head, like a Scrum Master, project owner, product owner, and so on and so forth. How do you handle this if you have a double head? And again, it's a series of support answers from the ChatGPT, and it covers multiple scenarios. It's quite flexible, and in the morning, I don't know, having your coffee, it can give you a very good opportunity for reflection on for analyzing all these options. And if you resonate with any or one of them or all of them, you could apply and go further, and it probably it can help you sharpening your decision or doing faster this kind of approach. Then HR or in Agile in combination with artificial intelligence. Of course, repetitive jobs, repetitive tasks. You can, and I saw already applications. You can create this kind of ChatGPT based chatbots. A more advanced version is called autonomous chatbot, which can conduct initial candidate screening, assess qualification, provide experience, discuss with the potential candidates, explaining them the roles, the job descriptions, and what's expected from them. It's nothing, again, how to say, revolutionary, but it can save a lot of time. This kind of pre-qualification work, which happens in HR, and sometimes is very consuming. I don't know your experience, and I fully trust you have probably much bigger than mine. But once upon a time, I opened a German subsidiary in Romania, and we had to hire 200 people in 3 months. And we had something like 60, maybe more than 60 resumes a day. And it was a nightmare at the time because only 2 or 3 candidates were actually in the, not the range, in the kind of mix of skills and abilities we were expecting to really review. And that would have been very useful at the time to really be able to automate that stuff. Of course, resumed top candidates based on keywords, based whatever you do in the normal HR processes now, you can put that in some programming lines. Again, my estimation now that you can do that probably below 5,000 euros. All that stuff. You can put it online and you can leave it to work even during the night with resumes coming from all places of the world. Of course, we may discuss about our case, but it could be a case you want to recruit these, how they call them, digital nomads and so on and so forth. So you don't care exactly about the location, but you would like to run this kind of screening and pre-qualifying process. And if you got these resumes, also you can see skill gaps, and if you have already people in the organization for career paths, for career advancements, for I don't know, for coaching programs, you can really predefine. If you have a large number of people, for example, my organization globally has 28,000 people. It's a huge number. Of course, we have local HR organization in every country and so on and so forth. But it would be really cool to really find, sometimes people are lazy, and you may say you get what you deserve. But if you really value people, you could run this kind of screening, automatic screening, and tell to someone, look, it may be the case that even if we didn't think, you may be good if you would go to give a chance for yourself in that area or that direction to improve your skills and so on and so forth. That could also, again, be helpful as a support. If you see here, it's nothing to replace necessary people. It's to enhance and to really save time and to make it more effective. And HR people eventually should really focus on where they are making the difference. It's not actually screening resumes, but identifying, that paradigm. Many companies nowadays, they hire the best people, not the people who fits in the culture of the company or who really are good in their teams. And that's really something where even nowadays, and probably for a long period of time, a human HR person will make the difference, because a virtual intelligence will really do some parameters and will do some let's say pre-formatting, screening, and so on and so forth. But how you really interpret that, how you make the difference, and the creativity part of the HR process, it's something which is still dedicated to human. Because here I will call something I read recently, which came only from ChatGPT or after or in relationship with ChatGPT, the skill, ability, knowledge, skill, ability, experience. So this KSAI concept appeared pretty recently, and I read a book about it, and they said knowledge, definitely, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, whatever you call it, is really having a very big impact, will have a very big impact, because it can improve your knowledge. It can give you faster access to knowledge. You saw the previous examples of what I should do in that scenario and so on and so forth. In terms of skills and abilities, here is where already you start losing a little bit the ChatGPT as in terms of changing your life. For sure, it can help improving your skills and abilities to a certain degree. And that's why I said in the beginning, those which are really top-notch professional would probably benefit of most about this technology. Nevertheless, the one which made the difference in a business environment, which also comes hand in hand with trust, if you ask me, and trust is really the unique identifier in really doing a great job in a company, is experience. So this artificial intelligence is lacking that experience. It can impact you tremendously on knowledge. It can enhance a little bit skills and abilities, but in terms of experience, at least for a long period of time, and I'm not I'm not lacking flexibility. I'm open to suggestions, but nevertheless, I don't see that in the next 5-10 years to really be able to compete with a human in terms of experience. So coming back to our stuff, if all these repetitive jobs, all these kind of operational tasks in HR, and believe me, it's not only HR. You can, for example, just to give you an example from my industry, if you are an IT and you want to automate the way you can request a hardware, you need a new printer, you need more memory on your laptop. You create this chatbot based on ChatGPT agent, and you create inside the logic of approvals, because depending on value or something, your line manager probably needs to give some checks. You automate the mails and you integrate with the email systems, and you get rid of a kind of procurement, at least the ordering part stuff in terms of days. In 7 days, you can automate completely the way you order hardware for your employees in a company. And if you have a 10 people team in your company, it's not a problem. But if you have 100, 200, everyone requiring some upgrades, downgrades, repairs, and so on and so forth, that's a tremendous improvement in terms of effectiveness. But also the nice part, which is, again, not only HR, but I'm discussing here HR, is the analytics. Whatever data flows in an HR system, imagine you run a survey, NPS, whatever. You want to see which are the key drivers of the engagement. If you have, I don't know, 300 responders, people who really put their thoughts, their feelings, their suggestions in those surveys, it is a good opportunity to summarize, to create visual dashboards, and to really give you a substance for making faster decisions. Attrition risks. You can, perform analytics on how the employees behaved, how they change the roles in the companies, if they are in sync with their career path, if there are career path in place, and they can give you some risk alerts. You can fine-tune some turnover adjustments, and so on and so forth. Of course, retention strategies, replacement plans, and so on and so forth. Not to mention the development paths I mentioned in the beginning, manager, leadership, coach, and so on, depending on the level of professionalism everyone has it, and of course, depending on their own desire to progress. And of course, that sentiment analysis, it's very important. It's interesting. There are AI applications now. It's not ChatGPT, like Ken, for example, which if you have a support center, they really track every conversation from that support center, and they can give you, by the end of the day, a sentiment analysis of every employee, which is a call center operator, in terms of how they feel, based on vocal recognition. It's not based on written chat things. So if they call, if you remember, if you call, I don't know, I don't want to give name of the companies. If you go to a major telco, it tells you, for your safety, whatever, this call is recorded. Actually, if they implement that solution, they can, of course, according to the GDPR and so on and so forth, they can actually have, at the end of the day, a sentiment analysis based on the voice and the tone of the employees regarding all the support center population, with hints, with indications. Of course, you can have that by interviewing people, by running surveys, so on and so forth. And it's interesting to see, because this is new. I mean, it's not revolutionary. That's what I'm fighting, and I'm trying to introduce in all my presentation. It's not something to change your life in a way that tomorrow everything is changing. But it's a breakthrough, because it never reached that kind of accessibility and easiness. Of course, we don't discuss now about the issues this kind of technology has, but it will be, that's my bet, it will be a huge pressure for big corporate, for enterprise, in terms of going for effectiveness, saving costs, creating more efficiency, which is already visible because, for example, Microsoft is putting all their money in that technology. It's still not stable, it's still not mature, it's still learning, but they will jump in that. If you see in the last months, year, war issues, inflation, companies are going that direction. And it doesn't matter what the customer wants. Imagine you are in insurance. I will talk on Monday on insurance. If you have this kind of chatbot, but not a stupid one as, I don't know, currently or in the past, which in 10 steps, it gives you the ability to close an insurance with a price which is half. Okay, it's, I don't know, I'm just fabulating now, but if it's 300 euro now to go to an insurance agent, of course, it can conciliate you, he can give you advices, you can choose in between different insurance options or packages. But if it's 150 and you talk to a bot, but actually it does the job in 20 minutes or in 10 minutes, maybe you don't like it. In the first year, it will be experimental. But if a company will pay 40K a year, euro, US dollars, whatever, to implement that for 200,000 users in a country, and only the support center or the agents would have been 500,000, believe me, they will push for that technology and will gradually change your life. Imagine Lidl, and not only Lidl. If you go to nowadays where you pay, where you check what you buy from a supermarket, you go to the self desk, and you really scan your products and you pay. couple of months ago, at least in Romania, it was a big fuzz. Big companies wants to save money and put us in this dismal situation and so on and so on. 2 days ago, I was in the Lidl in the morning, and it was a tale of people waiting actually to self-check their own goods. 3 months later, no one is complaining. That's the human nature. And to conclude, more or less, and gladly to jump in the free discussion, of course, embracing AI-driven technologies can unlock new level of efficiency, collaboration, and faster decision making. You made the difference. You have the skills and ability and experience to make the difference, but you may have faster access to the knowledge, and always check for yourself. Of course, very practical application are these chatbots, these autonomous agents, which can be put in place in different processes in a company. It is already discussed, and I am not 100% about that because I see only experiments. I didn't see something that scales, but they said that the delivery speed in an agile project by implementing AI, it can increase with 20%. I think is doable. And again, not changing our life, 20%. If you have 20% more to do something else, it's not about saving money. That's one component. But if I am in a team and I have 20% more time to do something else or to do better what I already do, I think it's valuable. Customer feedback, prioritization, stories, analytics, gaps, resumes, automation, and so on and so forth. So pretty much that's the kind of introduction I did to that thing. I think it's not something spectacular I brought here, but my true belief is this, again, is here to stay and gradually will come in our life, pushed by companies because of the efficiency and cost saving, and probably also us humans will have to test it, to experiment, to see for ourselves, and eventually not embrace it, but live together with that kind of technology. Now, question and answer in Romanian. I mean, the slide is like that. We continue in English. Thank you very much. Sorry for not giving you the option to ask questions, but I wanted to finish to park for this this section where we have free speech discussion. Please.
Dragos, actually, Martin wrote a few comments in the chat room.
Yes, let me see. Excellent. Yes, let me give you another example. Let's forget about Tesla. I'm talking about myself. I'm more humble than Tesla. And I wanted to look, if you remember, ChatGPT launched in November last year. And I was one of the first because when I saw some samples, I said, okay, I'm kind of geek in my own way. So I tested and I wanted to look for some ski equipment for my son. And I asked ChatGPT, what is, and remember, being trained on a limited series of data, which stops end of, I don't know, 2021 or 2022, it was not capable probably to do the highest kind of combinations. But nevertheless, I asked for this kind of equipment. And I asked specifically, what would you recommend me in terms of equipment for a 16 years old boy, 1.88 meters, to be optimal for this kind of sport, winter sport, skiing. And it gave me 3 options. And after a while, I called a good friend, which is a ski instructor. And he said, yeah, maybe the third is a little bit okay, but the first 2, I would completely disagree. And everyone said, yeah, hallucination about that. Very interesting. Statistical or statistics is not hallucinating. It's just playing or bad data, but that's another discussion. And I told to my friend, which was the ski instructor, I said, Bogdan, you do that since 10 years. This is your life. You are a passionate. I never did that. I always joined my wife and my son, but I didn't practice, so I have no clue. Eventually, I would have looked on the internet. Of course, you find in Google the same stuff. but already giving me 3 indications. I start faster from here. So we saw from a different angle. He saw that out of 3, 1 is good, 2 are crap. Okay. But for me, all 3 were good because I had no clue about that. And of course, you can go on Google. But the speed and the degree of refinement related to your specific questions, it takes 3 or 4 iterations in Google. And you need to know how to ask in Google to really get to the same granularity of feedback. So that's the other way around, what I tried a couple of days ago. And I said, please suggest me south of Italy, a 3 days city break for 2 adults and 1 16 years old guy. So I got very interesting kind of answers. One of them was, again, it's not perfect, it's still learning, but it's interesting. Imagine you have a tourism agency. If you can combine through the API that with, I don't know, Viaggio or booking server or whatever, and you say, and tell me the price. And if it's in between 100 and 200 euro a night, please book me for 3 nights. Period. Agencies which are tourist agencies, intermediate agencies in between big operators and us will disappear because you don't need them. You don't need to pay 10, 20% for their services. With all respect, yes, if you want to go in a very exclusive kind of holiday, like, I don't know, you want to swim with the turtles in Galapagos. Yeah, I would call an agency. I would meet a guy. If I buy a house, I would like to meet a guy, a person, a lady, whatever, to have a nice discussion about my new property. But if you really want to buy some, I don't know, t-shirts and stuff like that, or even a holiday for 3 days, probably that's a really interesting option. Not now. You can still explore it. But it's only now the moment when it really gets into this big enterprise company. It's also a lot of blah, blah, and fuzz, and I don't like that. Usually this noise tend to stress people. Yeah, whatever. It's because remember, we had it 2 years ago. It was the metaverse, VR. But metaverse failed. It's not in the human nature yet, probably, and it's too. Remember the 3D movies. Even now, I'm a big fan of 3D movies. I have a collection of, I don't know, 200 movies at my home. But 90% of my friends, they don't go ever at 3D movies. But that's something different.
I don't go either.
No problem.
Because I feel sick. That is
Yeah,
why.
that's the reason
the
for
physical.
the others as well.
Yeah. I get dizzy and I feel sick, so I needed to get out of the room.
It's demonstrated. Sorry, Martin, please.
Martin.
Yeah, I was thinking, we were in the topic of new types of employment. Oh, this is called in English. Lost it. But new types of roles, and that some types of employments will actually be removed. They will be no longer needed.
Some jobs, yeah.
Some jobs, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about a coach. I'm a coach myself. That's my profession. And AI, consider this scenario that a company with 2,000 employees or something like that, nowadays, if you want to get a coach, that's for 5% of the total employee group, because it's so expensive to have a coach. It's very expensive. You get good value out, so you could count on it to actually give it to everyone, but it's a big risk. But consider if you could use an AI to give you coaching value for the, say, 4% of the total cost of getting a proper coach. Then it's still okay to get only 50% of the value out from the coach. It will still get you a lot of momentum in the organization. I think that is a really interesting perspective, I think, from an HR perspective, for instance. How can we use AI as a way to coach and leverage our employees to improve even more? We are not there yet. The ChatGPT is able to, if you script it to coach you, you can get questions from ChatGPT to actually challenge you, and you can say that it should be in a specific state, should do a improvement kata type of coach. Now I want you to be an improvement kata coach, and this is my current condition. I want to go in this direction. It's not super easy. One of the biggest obstacles what I feel is that I can't talk to it. I just need to chat with it. So we need to integrate it with other types of AI.
There is already a technology to really use the voice.
Yeah.
Transforming if you remember Meta or Facebook, how you call it. 3 days ago, they made an announcement about a new technology, voice, which is very tricky. That technology can translate whatever you say in your language, in Swedish or in English, in other language, keeping the tone and the voice equally to yours. And that's instantly. They didn't release it publicly because they're afraid of misusage. But imagine you go to a hotel, even the example before, training, but we voice it to make it more human or friendly to an employee. But if you go to a hotel in Egypt and you say something at the desk, and that instantly translates in Egyptian, and the other way around, if you remember Star Wars with the CP03, guys, that's 2 days ago. Of course, how it lands, how is the GDPR, how is now all these councils in Europe, okay, let's regulate and so on. But you cannot regulate something like that because, again, the interest is coming from big corporates and they will push that. We are not there, but we are not there in terms of these steps, which, of course, you need to be in some kind of regulations and so on and so forth. But the technology is the first time, at least in my life, when it's really breakthrough. I mean, we don't talk now, it's like the nuclear power is good or bad. It will always be that debate. Will be exterminated by AI? I don't think so. And so on and so forth. But nevertheless, it's very, to come to add on top of what you said, I said to some friends a couple of days ago, something interesting. I said, if you want to have a personal assistant, like a manager assistant or something, I mean, in my country, probably depending on country or on county or city, or you may pay, I don't know, 1,500 euro net salary for such a person, which usually is a student or a graduate. It's recently proficient in 1 or 2 languages, but with probably 1 year, half a year, or during the university experience, not so much. Whatever that person will say, you may challenge, but of course you want to coach, to raise that person, to empower that person, but still you may challenge because the experience, it's something to be trained and prove in time and so on and so forth. If ChatGPT version 4, which is quite, I tested it, it's a little bit better than the 3.5. It requires you $20 a month. Even if it's 50% or 85% actually from what you get from the 1,500 euro, it's still an option. You may still hire the student and pay $20 for the ChatGPT. That's awesome. I mean, that's the difficult part, or something which changed the game. What I said in the beginning, in the past, because 10 years ago we had more or less similar stuff, but it was for the scientific. In MIT, you would have encountered such a technology, and it would have been tremendously expensive. $20 a month, that's nuts.
Yeah, I just had a funny thought listening to Dragos and Martin, and I remember a couple of years ago I was working in some new ways of working projects and team of teams implementation and so on. And of course, because I'm not into corporate governance that much, I was handling the organizational culture transformation part. And I was just thinking about the difficulties we had with those type of changes inside of the organization regarding culture, and the resistance from the teams, and they were business professionals, and they were seniors that we're working with, management teams from software companies. And I was just wondering what will be the blowout, culturally speaking, in organizations when you start to implement AI and ChatGPT and so on, regardless the advantages that it brings, because even those projects that we are implementing were beneficial to the company. So am I still going to have projects in cultural transformation or not?
Yeah.
I think here it's a lot to think about also people interaction. And this is one of the alarm that I have seeing your presentation, Dragos, and your ideas about how we can use AI for different kind of projects regarding people development and all this area. So with onboarding and all this screening, but where is the interaction, the people interaction? So, and one of the fear that I have myself is this one is related to this. So, because I saw what this pandemic brought us, you know, this.
Let me give you a real life example from my life. Many years ago, I went in Germany working for Digital River, stock exchange listed company there. And when I joined company first day, they gave me a big book, which was everything is in there, a cap, laptop, whatever. It was nice. Someone told me something about half an hour. Then when I joined Syngenta, more or less they gave me the same, but someone took me in a company tour for 2 days, introduced me to everyone, very nice. But I spent 3 weeks in the big company I work for now to really change the picture I had in the intranet. No one knew. I had guys, operators from India, taking remote control of my computer and not being able to change a picture. Then I wanted to have my first holiday request. It was a pain. So this can improve where, I don't know, cultural difference, time shift difference, and so on and so forth can make, especially in big corporates, our life raw. Of course, it will never replace human interaction. Even if you put human voices, as Martin said, to make a virtual coach better, it can give you basic programs. And if you feel interested and in qualify, you go for the real coach, which is for the paid money, for sure. It will do like that. Everyone will do that. But again, it's get back to my thought. 20% effectiveness is if you are afraid, Alisa, if it would have been 80%. To put artificial things 80% of our life, that would have been probably very scary. But 20% improvement. The question will be in 5 years or in 10 years. If it gets too smart, it will challenge itself this 20%. But for me, if in the next 5 years we get this 20%, spending more time instead of training a new employee how to open a ticket for a new holiday, to really, exactly as you said, let's have a team dinner after a big sales achievement to celebrate. That's much better to spend 1 hour instead of telling them how to really open this ticket because they never did that before, and so on and so forth. So it will never replace human beings in terms of, we are social beings.
Yeah.
You ask me, or at least I feel like that.
Yeah. And another question.
Yeah, just to close the circle here. Are organizational cultures ready for this type of approach?
Yes and no. My company opened this subject 3 months ago. They decided to give OpenAI free to every employee of the company, but they publish I'll say best practices, security rules, because you don't have to disclose, I don't know, things specific to your company, but it was in a very formal kind of way. And then we started now a series of workshops internally for free. You can attend. It's every 2 weeks one, where it shares with you real life samples, how you can generate content. If I take a picture of my face, I can create a clip with me walking in the Valencia Plaza for 2 minutes, and so on and so forth. I give a stupid example, but you can use it in the marketing material. You can ask DALL-E to create images to put in whatever advertising. And we discover that already people, it's not ChatGPT specifically, it's artificial intelligence. We already discovered, for example, in one of our countries, and I don't give name, 20% of the marketing materials were already generated by AI tools. But now it's official. Other companies, they said, no, let's analyze the risk and so on and so forth. And the third company type of companies are those which prepare now tremendously to become suppliers, because in the enterprise world you don't do that, but you would like to have, like from Salesforce, from SAP, someone to really deliver such kind of interface in a secure way. So I'm looking quite soon to have big companies providing such services. And the fourth option is big companies, Microsoft, I don't know, Amazon, adding this AI or recognizing this AI component officially. And not to mention, if you remember, CNET. CNET is a new news agency in US and also famous website. They already posted a disclaimer on their website that 30% of their content as news is generated by AI. So this is going, but I saw at least 20-30% of the companies not necessarily being afraid, not taking serious, but going back one step. Digital transformation. 10 years ago, everyone said, yeah, whatever. And now those late comers, they talk about digital strategy. There is no digital strategy. There is business strategy with digital components. The same here. There is no artificial intelligence. It's business with AI augmented support. And if you want to invent a division or a new pillar in your company in separation, like AI or digital, good luck with that. It will fail because business will not pay money for the fancy dancy stuff in the company. But if you would look, for example, I don't know, I finish with a practical example from my side. I don't know if you use ChatGPT to create a PowerPoint, and I'm not talking about the content. PowerPoint, Excel as well, they have a developer section. If you remember the ribbon with the file open, whatever, if you go to the settings and ribbons, you can activate the developer option. If you open the developer option, it will enable you to get access to the Visual Basic assistant. Visual Basic is kind of basic coding. And you go to ChatGPT and you say, please write me a VBA code, which is a macro more or less, for a presentation for 7 slides for this topic with this subpoints. It creates this code. You put it in the VBA interface, Visual Basic interface from the developer side of PowerPoint. You click on run or execute, and it creates your PowerPoint with exactly that structure. And then the content is from yours. So you create a PowerPoint in about 15 seconds. And instead of thinking late in the night after many hours of work, what should I do in the second slide? You have it. And then you just, of course, you have your words. You know your stuff, how it's said. But
wow, I need to test it.
It's
good that we have the record
right now, but it's something that we can organize as a practical. But it's one of the best things I use when I'm talking with an employee or a colleague, to tell them, okay, guys, artificial intelligence, I don't know, extra aliens and so on. Let's do a PowerPoint in 50 seconds, period.
Yeah, but it all comes down to behavior and habits. So
for sure, that's something we cannot control.
Yeah, thank you, Dragos.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dragos, and everybody for this discussion and ideas. And I like a lot the samples that you gave us and all these ideas. So we'll keep in touch. Stay close to us because we also prepare other events on hot topics. So again, thanks a
And when
lot.
we have our core meeting, I can do a demo on what I said with some really
Yeah. Please. Yeah.
to make you more agile.
Yeah. Great.
Speed to deliver.
So have a nice evening, everybody, and
Thank you very
keep in
much.
touch.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, everyone.